for doing that. Beautiful music, and it gave us a chance for many of us to go and stand outside and get absolutely frozen. So there you go. Now I really feel in touch with people in trenches and all that. Oh, all the stuff. Anyway, right. I want to welcome you all this evening to this evening of reflection and remembrance. Here's what we're going to do. We've got our banners, they're up already. We're going to start by singing a hymn, and it's going to follow much of their familiar remembrance service format, but at the same time, as we said, it's an evening to remember and reflect. And so we have various guest speakers, one by video and two in person, who are going to reflect on their experience in many different ways. I think this will be a really rich and rewarding evening. I think it will only give us something to think about and hopefully help us remember, lest we forget, that it's all about peace. Okay, so let's start with our hymn. Would you like to stand and sing? Oh, it is on the wall. If you have it. Thank you very much. Margaret Pratt, one of our wonderful wardens in this parish, this congregation. She's going to read a poem. Can you introduce it? Can you tell us the background? Thank you.
Yes, a little. I think Dawn found it. It is a poem written by a young man. He was 14 years of age. His name is Joshua Dyer, and he was given a task at school to write a poem. And this is the poem that 14-year-old Joshua Dyer wrote. 1,000 men are walking side by side, singing songs from home, the Spirit as their guide. They walk towards the light, my Lord. They walk towards the sun. They smoke and laugh and smile together, no foes to outrun. These men live on forever in the hearts of those they saved, a nation truly grateful for the path of peace they paved. They march as friends and comrades, but they do not march for war. Step closer to salvation, a tranquil, steady core. The meadows lit with golden beams, a beacon for the brave. The emerald grass untrampled, a reward for what they gave. They dream of those they left behind, and know they dream of them forever in those poppy fields. There walks 1,000 men.
That's all. And now we've got a little video we're going to show. This is here. It's featuring Mark Knopfler. Does he know that he's here?
Mark Knopfler. And no, he definitely ain't here. We couldn't afford him.
No, I don't. Could you please press play? If you're looking for a seat, there's a holder duck here as well. Okay, thank you.
On your maple green, see the winding Morrison in, angry Alfie, Bill and Kim, waving hanky sticks and books, all the earthen roofs, standing at the batsman takes to the blue. The boys are fielding on home ground. The steeple sharp against the blue. When I think of you, Sam and Andy, Jack and John, Charlie Mark, Jamie Ron, Harry Steve,
have I had a Canadian bias in it? Because one of the things that I found personally a little bit tricky today was how we had so many Union Jacks around the place, because these were international wars that we're remembering. You know, there were Australians and there were Kiwis and there were Canadians and Indians and so many, and Jamaicans and so many other nationalities fought alongside Scots and Irish and Welsh and Englishmen. And so I'm really, really glad, thank you, that there was a Canadian put in that. Now, I wonder if Lieutenant Colonel Jock Smith would come out and give us our first reflection.
Since time immemorial, men have fought and died on battlefields the world over, in mighty armies or in small localized wars. In the Peloponnesian Wars in Greece, 400 BC, in Greece, the 300 Spartans at the pass in Thermopylae, defending the pass against the Persian army, all 300 died. Then came the Romans, who brought Pax Romana everywhere they went. They brought peace, and they were well organized. In fact, as a soldier, I had always had a sneaking admiration for the Roman legion. 5,000 men, 300 of them mounted, the forerunner of a modern infantry brigade. They were well organized, and they had smart uniforms. Then came the barbarians, the Goths, the Vandals, Attila the Hun, Genghis Khan. They destroyed everything in their paths. And for us, after the Romans came Saxons and Normans. They all left their mark on our country. We fought wars too as the British Empire grew steadily. They say the sun never set on the British Empire. British soldiers died in far-off places such as the Khyber Pass, India, China, Africa, and of course Europe. We fought the French under commanders like John Churchill, the Duke of Marlborough. His victory in 1704 at Blenheim is of course reflected by Blenheim Palace, but he also defeated the French at Ramillies, and other battles. But he always won by good generalship. Sorry, Malplaquet was the one I was looking for. Later came the Duke of Wellington, 1815, at Waterloo, and in recent years Montgomery, and my favourite general, World War II, Slim in Burma. Not just because my late father served in the 14th Army in Burma, but Slim was always the end of the line for supplies. He defeated a powerful Japanese army with the minimum of resources. Tonight we remember the men and women who died in the service of their country. At 1100 hours on this day in 1918, the guns fell silent on the Western Front, and the routine slaughter that we attribute to World War I came to an end. It was called the War to End All Wars, but sadly it was not. And in 1939, Europe again became a theatre of war. And that war spread to many parts of the world, involving countries of the British Empire, such as New Zealand, Australia, India, Canada, South Africa, and of course involved Russia, the United States of America, and the Axis countries, Japan, Italy, Germany. The scale of casualties of war in recent times is best illustrated, as you saw on the film, in Flanders, where the war cemetery, beautifully maintained by the Commonwealth War Graves Commission, contained row upon row of white marble headstones, time caught on the Somme, 12,000 graves, and over 50% of them were the words, "A soldier of the Great War, known unto God." The Men in Gate at Ypres has 50,000 names of soldiers with no known grave. The evening service under the Men in Gate, 365 days a year at 8 p.m, where the last post is sounded by two buglers of the Belgian Fire Brigade. It's incredibly moving. I've been to Tyne Court twice, and I have stood under the Men in Gate at 2000 hours. I've spoken only of soldiers, but being an island race, it would be remiss not to mention the huge contribution made by the Royal Navy, going back to Drake and the Spanish Armada, Nelson at Trafalgar in 1805. The Battle of Jutland, fought off the west coast of Denmark in World War I, cost the Royal Navy some 6,000 dead. Hitler was forced by the strength of our navy to abandon Operation Sea Lion, the assault on Britain from the sea. The Battle of Britain, fought by the Royal Air Force against the Luftwaffe, also ensured that our islands were never invaded. The Prime Minister, Winston Churchill, was prompted to make his famous statement in praise of the pilots who flew the Hurricanes and Spitfires in the battle. Never in the field of human conquest was so much owed by so many to so few. Tomorrow the King will lead the nation in remembrance at the cenotaph, on which are inscribed the words, "Our glorious dead." There has been criticism over the years in some circles of such terms, and even the red poppy as our symbol of remembrance, or use of it, has been questioned. The poppy as a symbol of remembrance is now unquestioned, and those who suggest it glorifies war do not, I suspect, understand or probably don't want to understand its significance. Colonel John McCrae, a Canadian medical officer serving with the Royal Army Medical Corps in World War I on the Western Front, operated in a field dressing station. Now, a field dressing station is the first stage of battle casualties being taken back for treatment. It's the spot where a decision is made as to whether the wound can be treated and send the soldier back into the battle or send him back to a field hospital. John McCrae was so sickened by the dreadful wounds he was having to treat in the FDS that one day during a lull in the battle, he left the FDS and walked a short distance to a track where was parked a motorised ambulance. He climbed into the ambulance, probably just to have a break from the awful work he was doing. But there was a signal pad and a pencil, and he wrote a poem which had become famous. It's called In Flanders Fields. I will recite that poem to close my short talk. In Flanders Fields the poppies grow between the crosses row and row that mark our place, while in the sky the larks still bravely singing fly, scarce heard amid the guns below. We are the dead, short days ago we lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and well loved, and now we lie in Flanders Fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe, to you with failing hands we throw the torch, be yours to hold it high, if ye break faith with we who die we shall not sleep. Though poppies grow in Flanders Fields. Thank you.
Remember I was saying this is not just about the First World War, how we're going to be thinking about war generally. So we have a really interesting video from a lady called Jen Stout. And she is a Scottish journalist who at school was dead keen on Russian. And so she ended up going to Russia and working there for a while and made friends there, ended up settling there, and then ended up turning to basically going to Ukraine and witnessing firsthand the Ukrainian war. She's someone who's connected with this area. She used to work for the Free Press, didn't she?
Yes.
And so we hoped she might be here, but it wasn't possible. So she basically recorded an interview, a reflection for us to hear about a modern, contemporary war. And God, not much has changed. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jen Stout. I'm a journalist from Shetland, in Shetland currently, as you can see. Thank you for inviting me to speak. It's really lovely to be able to speak to you from the other end of the country, 400 miles away. Although I can see in my mind exactly where you are, because I know Stranraer well, and I miss it. And being able to think of that makes the distance seem a lot smaller. I am very glad that we're still talking about Ukraine. I am very glad that it's still in our minds and in our prayers. This day is when we remember sacrifice, and what they're sacrificing as a society and as individuals is staggering. I knew Ukraine and Ukrainians before the war, Well, what we think of as the war in Ukraine, though for Ukrainians, it started in 2014 when Russia first invaded, and they called 2022 the full-scale invasion. It's 21 months ago now, which seems extraordinary. And I think it's worth remembering now that at that point they were expected to give up. Kiev was expected to fall, Zelensky, the president, was expected to flee. They were expected to roll over, and they did not. They fought with incredible resolve. And I was there for some of it, and I think I'm incredibly lucky to have been there and witnessed this and met these people and learned from them. It's a cliche to say that war is terrible, but I do want to say that it's disgusting. I've seen destruction I couldn't have imagined, and lives ripped apart, and so much pain and heartbreak. But I don't join those who throw up their hands and say, the fighting should stop, this is all senseless, because yes, Russia's invasion is senseless, yes, Russia's aggression should stop. Ukrainians, though, either fight back or are wiped out. That's the choice. I wonder what we would do, given that choice, how we would respond. And this is something I've had to grapple with myself, the necessity of fighting sometimes. It's perhaps easy to be a pacifist if you grow up in peace, unthreatened. I can see what fascism is. I think we can all see what's happening across the world. I was in Russia briefly for a few months until the invasion. I can see why some of my friends joined the armed forces of Ukraine to defend their own country. And I'm proud of them for doing so. Many, many wonderful people have been killed. A young woman I met, Vlada, she's a brilliant young PhD student. She was killed at the front. A musician, a sculptor, dad of three, Anton also, and my friend Victoria, a writer, killed in a missile attack on a pizza restaurant. She had a little boy. She was one of the best writers of her generation. These are just three people. There are so many, and the burden is very, very heavy. This is the time to renew support and commitment to these people who are only trying to build their own country free from colonial rule of their neighbour. I remember them all today, and I'm really glad that you can do so with me. Thank you.
Oh, it's hard, isn't it? It's hard to hear it. So we're going to have a bit of a musical interlude, but I need to explain that help me, Ian Robinson. I was going to call you the wrong name, and I knew it was the wrong name. You know that when you suddenly stop. Ian Robinson, the chair of the British Legion, is also the maestro of the Les Bolt Community Ensemble. Get his name right this time. And so during the music, we're going to pause and we're going to talk. Is that right? I got that right? Yes. How good is that? All these wonderful talents that we have in this community. So please.
Can I just say that we were going to call ourselves the Village People. The problem was, the game demanded to be the police motorbikers. So, sorry, I'll do that. We're going to start with Amazing Grace. follow that. So we're going to follow it with El Conde Paso. So now, before we play our final piece, I'm just going to reflect on my service, just so you know who I am. I served with the Staffordshire Regiment, Prince of Wales Division, for over 20 years. During that time, I served in Northern Ireland quite a few times, America and other places. And one of the latter places I went to was the Gulf, the First Gulf War. But it's not really about my service, because we can all put our medals on and be proud of what we've achieved. But what we must remember is the families we leave behind. And so I'd like us just to think about the families. When I was in the Gulf, we had these. I don't know if anybody's ever seen these. You know what they're called? Blueies. And they were our lifeline. This is the one that my daughter sent me when I was sat in the desert. I mean, she was 18 at the time. But anyway. So then there comes a time when you sat in the desert feeling sorry for yourself. And you think, I've got to write a letter and tell my family how I feel. Because the one thing I'll say as a serving soldier, you sit in the desert, or wherever you sit, and you know how you are. The poor people that you leave behind don't know what's happening. So we always know the family wait for a knock at the door. And sadly, sometimes that knock comes. But for many people, we get home and we just build relationships again. So the song we're going to finish with is an arrangement that Jackie actually wrote for the band, so if it goes wrong, it's not my fault. And it's called I'm Sorry. It was written by John Denver. He wrote it in 1975, just before, sadly, he died in a plane crash. But it was about a failed relationship. The letter I wrote wasn't about that. It was just about how I felt. So I'd like you just to think a little bit about the families that soldiers leave behind, and all servicemen. Song now, I'm Sorry.
sorry things ain't what they used to be. But more than anything else, I'm sorry for myself. 'Cause you're not here with me. My friends all ask about you. I say you're doing fine, and I expect to hear from you almost any time. They all know I'm crying, that I can't sleep at night. They all know I'm dying down deep inside. I'm sorry for all the lies I told you. I'm sorry for the things I didn't say. But more than anything else, I'm sorry for myself. I can't believe you went away. I'm sorry if I took some things for granted. I'm sorry for the chains I put on you. But more than anything else, I'm sorry for myself. For living without you.
Right, now we're about to do something that involves lots of stage management, but we're going to do it without any stage management, which is always really scary. Okay? So I'm going to tell you what's going to happen so you know we get it wrong. No. So you've got an idea of what's about to happen. Ian is going to read the ode, and then Andy Ross is going to play Lament, and he's currently hidden somewhere. And then Lewis is going to play the Reveille, which is fantastic. And then after that, we're going to sing the national anthem together. Okay? You ready? Are you good? Right, okay. I've done my bit.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember. Remain standing, we're going to play the national anthem. Well, opposite you guys. Thank you. Would you like to be seated? I've got a few thank yous. Thank you for coming. Thank you very much. Thank you for all the people who've contributed in so many ways, including the decorators, the festooners. I want to thank Jean and Margaret Pratt, Jean Ross and Margaret Pratt, for getting this organised, along with Donald at the back, the button pusher. I want to thank the band. The band. It's fantastic. And I want to tell you that the final thing we're going to do this evening is I've got a blessing to read. But after that, when you're ready to leave, please do so. And the Lesvault Community Ensemble, why have I got such a problem with this? Their claim to fame is that most of them learned to play during COVID. So aren't they fantastic? Whereas these guys, 50 years, voices, are just amazing generally. Okay? So, okay. Right, okay, I'll read my blessing. And then, basically, the Lesvault Band are going to play us out. So, enjoy the music, but don't wait. Just take it as being your way out, okay? So it's no awkwardness, we just let you know. Okay, so a blessing. Let us go from this place with minds that never forget, with hearts that grow in hope, with lives that shine Christ's light. Let us go to serve, to reconcile, to bring peace, and to stand united as children of the light. And may the blessing of God, Creator, Peacemaker, and Peace Bringer, go with us all, now and every day. Amen.
Thank you.